Well, once again, feeling a little bit forgotten by the media. We're going to have some stories to cover for you. Well, mainly South Shore 12, actually, which actually has taken most of the weekend off from actually covering any news. So they've covered a few news stories, but they've missed a lot of stuff, and that's what we're going to talk about. And Newsday, on the other hand, has actually done a pretty good job covering some news stories, and we're going to talk about all these news stories for you in this video. All right, obviously now they've got developing story. Two people accused now to face additional charges. Of course, where were they? On the South Shore. Queens man drowned fishing in Long Beach. That gets 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Vigil in Jericho. Fluff, 131. Car show. That's also fluff, 1 minute and 40 seconds. And then they covered a lot of fluff this weekend. And another fluff, too. Heart Saver Award, 146. I mean, it's all fluff. This isn't news. The only thing that they should have covered, that actually did happen on the South Shore, and we're going to talk about this, a shooting in Rockville Centre, in the projects in Rockville Centre. So, again, but they only covered that for 23 seconds, which is, again, a joke. Like I say, they've taken the weekend off from covering any actual news. So let's talk about some of the news actually going on. And actually, we're going to talk about the Gilgo case, because this involves the Pine Barrens, and, of course, well, South Shore 12 kind of dropped that like a hot potato. You know, it's funny, they were in Massapequa every day, day after day, but they can only spend a couple of days in the Pine Barrens, and that's it. They're you know, and they don't even use the word Pine Barrens. They just say deeply wooded area. So we're going to read this Newsday article on this. So the search in Manorville has expanded deeper into the woods and the surrounding areas into a fifth-day Saturday, with Suffolk County Police and New York State K-9 units searching deeper into the woodlands that they had in previous days as the investigation. So 4 Suffolk K-9 teams were spotted near the power lines west of Nugent Drive in Calverton, not far from the Suffolk County Jail, an area, of course, they know very, very, very well. If we look at the map here, which is kind of this is where we are, kind of here in these Pine Barrens right here. Power lines. This is Nugent Drive right here. And the power lines are right. We can just take this over here. Power lines are right over here. So this is the area they've been searching now, this area over here. They've been searching this area here. And, of course, South Shore 12 could not bother to send a reporter over here because they just don't want to come here, you know. This is the place they try to avoid the most on South Shore 12. They want to pretend it doesn't even exist. So let's get back to our story here. So this is they consider this area Calverton. It's not far from the Suffolk County Jail, where Rex Herman has been housed since his arrest last July. And they were also spotted on the Long Island Expressway in the woods east of Chapman Boulevard and County Route 111. So that's in Manorville Hills Preserve. So you got them searching in Peconic Bog County Park and Manorville Hills Preserve now. And this is the second straight day police crossed over the LIE after focusing their efforts the first first 3 portions of the woods to the north. On Friday, county police also searched woods 20 miles away in North Sea. That was an unrelated 1993 unsolved murder. The lengthy search is part of the Gilgo Beach homicide investigation. Police and prosecutors have declined to discuss specifics of the cadaver search, including what, if anything, has been found related to the case since the multi-agency effort began on Tuesday. They do not comment while they're underway, obviously, from the Suffolk County DA's office. However, on Saturday afternoon, Suffolk County crime scene investigators removed a safe and other items from a robbery that state police found while patrolling the woods south of Mill Road in Manorville. So, this is a lot of people that are up to no good like to dump their stuff here. I mean, it's like New Jersey and the Sopranos and the Pine Barrens there. It's the same thing here. So Calverton south of Mill Road. That Mill Road is let's see, Mill Road. This is Mill Road. So they might have been searching this area over here, perhaps, where they found probably this area right here, where they found some discarded proceeds from a robbery, perhaps, or a safe. I mean, jeez. Yeah, they probably chucked it from the vehicle while driving down the expressway. So on Friday evening, whoops, I scrolled way too far. Is this computer acting stupid again? On Friday evening, an NYPD pickup truck that spent the entire day in the woods returned to the Manorville Firehouse and parked in front of the mobile command center the Suffolk County Police had set up on the property. Officers put on rubber gloves and removed several items from a lockbox on the truck. It wasn't clear what they brought back. Police have to date searched much of the woodlands north of the LAE's Manorville exits and south of Middle Country Road, including sections of Calverton Ridge and even a federal preserve on Brookhaven National Laboratory in Upton. Manorville itself has more than 6,900 acres of core pine barrens. Well, they actually said the word pine barrens, at least. A rural hamlet with all 25 square miles situated in the central Long Island Pine Barrens, Manorville is where the partial remains of two women named as the victims in the Gilgo Beach investigation were found more than 20 years ago. So it's funny how the media has always been fixated on the Gilgo Beach section, but the fact is that this killer also dumped the bodies in the Long Island Pine Barrens as well. The victims in November 2000, partial remains of Valerie Mack, a New Jersey native, were found in a wooded area west of Halsey Manor Road near Mill Road, and 2003, partial remains of Jessica Taylor, who had lived for a time in the Bronx, was located about a mile south near the LAE. Other remains of both women who had been sex workers were later found near Ocean Parkway near Gilgo. Of course, that's what the media's been all over. Harmon, architect from Massapequa Park, was charged in 4 other Gilgo homicide cases. None of his alleged victims had remains located in Manorville. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to tie him, seeing if he's involved in some of these other killings that have happened. And again, SouthShore12, they just, you know what I mean? They just, I mean, really. And then they said, all right, let's say, oh, they don't even have a story. They don't even have a video. I mean, this is, so they're just taking the whole weekend off, News 12. Like, we don't feel like covering news. We don't feel like working. We're just going to go and have fun instead, I mean, it's unbelievable. So the other story, and they barely covered this. There was a shooting in Rockville Centre. Barely covered it. They didn't send a reporter or anything, which is kind of surprising because it's happened in Rockville Centre, but not surprising when you hear as to where it happened. So we're going to read the article from Newsday because they have no details. I mean, this network is just unbelievable. They just don't feel like working. Maybe they'll get back to work tomorrow. I don't know, but they took the whole weekend off. Kevin Cooper of Rockville Centre, 2 sons, faced charges after a shooting and a fight. And this happened at Rockville Centre. And let's go to back to the maps. I'll show you where this happened. Find the maps here. The maps you'll see here. Go back to Rockville Centre. And there's one area of Rockville Centre I've spoken about. There's housing projects in Rockville Centre. And this is it right here. This is the area right here. Off North Center Avenue, Old Mill Court, Rockville Centre Housing Authority. This area right here, circle it in red for you. Believe it or not, Rockville Centre has a ghetto, and this is it right here. That's it, just that little area right there. It's self-contained, all right. And I guess this is why SouthShore12 isn't covering it because, maybe they don't want to alarm people in Rockville Centre, but it's also an area that obviously a mostly minority population lives, and that's, Rockville Centre is a pretty preppy, lily white town, except for this little section right here is mostly people of color, where the housing authority is. And of course, well, just like everything else, they're going to dump all the problems. Actually, we can actually take a street view, believe it or not, inside. And this is the area. This is the area. So yeah, they do have. And obviously, the irony is, if I was allowed to live in Rockville Centre, this would probably be the only option. Yeah, it's not safe. There is a lot of crime in this little section here, this is the segregation you get. So let's read the article here. And again, this is pretty serious, which is shooting. I don't know how SouthShore12 gets away with barely covering this, but again, they just want to pretend there isn't any problems. We're all, it's all peachy keen. They are a joke. They really are. Kevin Cooper of Rockville Centre, 2 sons face charges after a shooting and a fight. So a Rockville Centre man and his 2 sons are facing weapons and assault charges after police said gunshots were fired during an altercation on Saturday, sending 2 people to the hospital. Nassau police said multiple people were fighting at the Old Mill Court apartment complex when Kevin Cooper, 56, accidentally fired a 9mm Taurus handgun around 4:40 p.m. So it's broad daylight, causing the crowd to disperse and leaving him leaving him wounded. As people began fleeing, police said Cooper's 34-year-old son, Kevin S. Cooper Jr., pointed a different gun at a 50-year-old woman. He then struck the woman in the head with the loaded .22 caliber American tactical handgun and handed the weapon to his brother, Devin Cooper, 27, who fired shots toward a man running away. Police did not specify how many people were involved in the fight, but said they all knew each other. Authorities said Cooper had been carrying the 9mm gun inside his sweatshirt pocket. He was taken to the hospital with injuries to his abdomen. The woman was also hospitalized with head injuries. Detectives said both firearms were recovered and that all three men are residents of the complex, so they all live there. They are all facing, and I'm hoping after this, they are removed from that complex. They are each facing 2 counts of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, first-degree reckless endangerment, third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, criminal possession of a firearm, and fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon. Cooper Jr. faces an additional charge of second-degree assault, and he was to be arraigned on Sunday with his brother at First District Court in Hempstead. And the elder Cooper would be arraigned when medically practical. Again, this is a pretty big story, but again, it just didn't seem to want to get covered. But this is the complex area. I know it doesn't look too bad here, but there is a lot of crime in this complex and a lot of problems. It's not surprising. And it's been here for a while, and I'm wondering when they might try to get rid of it and force these people to go to Hempstead eventually. But it's not what should happen, obviously. But they should stop dumping criminals in here and making sure that people who live in these affordable housing complexes are people that do not have a criminal record. Anyone with a criminal record should never be allowed to live in affordable housing. Never, ever, ever. All right? At least when it comes to, and I bet these people have been arrested before. They have been arrested before. All right? They probably have long rap sheets. Here's another, again, this is all right next to the fancy complex here. And this is all right next to Morgan Days Park. I've never felt unsafe at Morgan Days Park. Like I said, it's very self-contained to that one particular area, and it doesn't really, you can see the kind of places you have in this one spot. This is the little, look at the kind of people you have hanging around here. This is the little ghetto of Rockville Centre, like a mini ghetto in Rockville Centre, and that's pretty much it right there. I'm not surprised. There's been things from time to time, but again, leave it to South Shore 12 to not cover it properly. It's not at all a surprise. They have more important things to go to, like let's talk about the car show at Tobey. Let's talk about that. Yeah, they'd rather do that. Yeah, let's talk about that. This is not something. Come on, why are you wasting time on this? This is not news. Oh, because it's Massapequa and a certain demographic is there. That's why you're all over it. Is there one person of color in this whole story? No, there isn't. There isn't. All right, so we've gone over those two things, and now we have another story from Newsday that we're going to read to you. Because, again, Newsday is actually doing a good job covering news, and they actually have their own streaming TV network that's actually free, I believe. So you see they covered a lot of different news here, and we're going to talk about mental health in another video. This video, I'm going to just cover the crime. This way. Romaine also picks the former Nassau County DSS commissioner to head Suffolk. So the DSS commissioner, Inhofe, I believe his name was when Blakeman took over, he kind of stepped down. But now he's going to be back because he actually worked under Laura Curran. So I'm really impressed with Ed Romaine. He's like the total opposite of Bruce Blakeman. They may both be Republicans, but he's total opposite. So anyway, let's get to the next story that South Shore 12 really should be covering. Ticks on Long Island. Disease-carrying critters now a year-round problem. Summer on Long Island means sun, surf, sand, and ticks. The increasingly warm winters have made the voracious tiny critters, which carry a number of diseases, a year-round problem. And if you go to the Pine Barrens, like I do, you know that you're going to have to worry about ticks. It's, again, the people at South Shore 12, I guess they don't go hiking, so they think it's not going to affect them. But the ticks eventually going to be everywhere, even in the little parks here in Nassau. And actually, they talk about it in the story. So they have become even more frisky in the warmer months. Experts are warning people, especially those visiting Long Island's parks and beaches, in the coming weeks to take precautions. And I do. I spray my pants, my shoes, and my socks with permethrin, which is a natural flower-based insecticide that kills the ticks. This article, I don't think, mentions it, but anyway, getting back to the article, it says, every year yields more information about ticks and the illnesses they cause. Clinicians said treatment should be based on symptoms and that A new surveillance criteria for Lyme disease may create an accurate baseline for cases, and testing for Lyme disease isn't always needed. Researchers are also learning that black people may be diagnosed with Lyme disease at a much later stage because their symptoms, including the rash, are not always immediately recognized. So ticks are very adaptive arthropods, said Anne Marie Wellens, a doctor of nursing practice who works at Stony Brook Southampton Hospital, a regional tick-borne illness resource center in Hampton Bays, which opened last summer. I'm glad we have that. But we can outsmart them through education and prevention. So, tracking ticks, Long Island is one of the epicenters of Lyme disease and a hotbed for ticks. But instead of trying to determine the tick population in Nassau and Suffolk County, scientists focus on testing for pathogens the ticks carry that cause diseases such as babiosis, anaplasmosis, Powassan virus disease, and a version of Rocky Mountain spotted fever, as well as Lyme disease. So ticks spread so much disease. They are just disgusting little creatures, and they are all over the Pine Barrens and all over our woods. And it doesn't help that we don't have the fires. That fires would help actually probably reduce the tick population. I find that we have more ticks here than New Jersey. Wellens said, in general, about 20% of nymph young ticks carry some kind of virus, and about 50% of adult ticks do. The Suffolk County Health Department collects ticks at 10 different locations, one in each township, and tests them. In 2023, the majority of ticks tested positive for the bacteria that cause Lyme disease. This is very disturbing. The results range from 26% of adult ticks tested from Riverhead to 44% in Babylon, 50% in Smithtown, and 70% on Shelter Island. So it seems like the further east you go, the worse it gets, though. Again, Babylon had 50%. Nassau County does not conduct tick surveillance. Am I not surprised? But results from the 2023 Tick Blitz, a citizen science project operated by Northeast Regional Center for Excellence in Vector-Borne Diseases, led by Cornell University's Department of Entomology, showed most of the ticks collected were black-legged ticks from the central and northern parts of Nassau. So, yeah, there are ticks in Nassau County. And like I said, the warmer winters, they're going to be more and more of them. They're going to be in your yard. They're going to be everywhere. The black-legged, obviously, is the deer tick. Those are the kind that spread Lyme disease. I have only been out once in Suffolk County to look for ticks, and I have found a variety of species and life stages, said Judy Gangloff Hoffman, Senior Extension Associate and Entomologist for New York's Integrated Pest Management Program at Cornell University. Ticks are very active right now. Nassau County is no exception, although ticks tend to be in the greener spaces in the middle of the island and north into the preserve and the park. So it seems like the North Shore and middle of the county have more ticks than the South Shore, though I think they can be anywhere at this point. Some experts believe for years that cases of Lyme disease were underreported because people didn't have symptoms, didn't seek treatment, or there were not enough medical evidence to support a diagnosis. In 2022, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention changed the way cases of Lyme disease are reported, leading to a shocking rise in statistics. In 2022, 62,551 cases were reported to the CDC, compared with an average of 37,118 cases annually between 2017 and 2019, I should say. A CDC study concluded the rise was from the reporting change, not from an increase in the risk of disease. In our areas and others where there is a higher incidence of Lyme disease, they will now base their estimates on the number of positive lab results, said Dr. Andrew Handel, a pediatric infectious disease expert at Stony Brook Children's Hospital, who treats patients with tick-borne diseases. But once you are positive for Lyme disease, you can have a positive test for years. So doing it just based on lab tests doesn't always tell you if someone really has Lyme disease. Handel said if someone is bitten by a tick but doesn't have symptoms such as the bullseye rash, fever, joint aches, fatigue, and brain fog, they don't necessarily need to be tested. A lot of parents come in and they really want to have Lyme disease testing done after every tick bite their kids had. It's a tough situation because I understand wanting to make sure they don't have Lyme disease, but it can open the door to a lot of confusion. It's common to have these antibodies, but you may not be sick or have an infection. Tests also cannot be performed until 2 or 3 weeks after a bite because it searches for antibodies, not the bacteria that causes Lyme. Instead, Handel said people need to focus on the rash that accompanies a bite and immediate or developing symptoms. In some cases, people who have been bitten will receive a dose of an antibiotic for prevention as they continue to monitor for symptoms. A late diagnosis. Researchers are finding it takes longer for people with darker skin to be diagnosed with Lyme disease. A recent study from the Johns Hopkins Medical Lyme Disease Research Center shows black patients were more likely to have advanced stages of Lyme disease, and experts experience delays in getting antibiotic treatment. Well, I'm not surprised. We have such a racist society we live in. Researchers said there was a lack of community and physician awareness. Also, the way rashes appear on darker skin is likely less to be seen in textbooks. Later diagnosis could mean people developing more serious symptoms, such as severe fatigue and irregular heartbeat. They are underdiagnosed, and the early cases are missed. It's a real problem. He said he is working with staff at the hospital to conduct a survey to focus on the issue. So, ticks to watch. Gangloff Kaufman said the spread of the invasive longhorn ticks. Yes, we now have another tick to watch. In addition to Rocky Mountain, in addition to the Lone Star tick, deer ticks, American dog ticks, now we got the Asian longhorn tick, which has been found on pets, livestock, wildlife, and people. Continues to spread across Long Island since they were first discovered in the United States in 2017. The CDC said one study found this tick is not likely to spread Lyme disease, but research is ongoing. Another study found it can spread the bacteria that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever. The female ticks can lay eggs and produce more female ticks without mating. Oh, boy. This allows these ticks to quickly develop large populations where they find hosts, including deer, opossum, and raccoons. They are not fond of people, but we should keep in our mind our pets and make sure that they are protected. The Gulf Coast tick has also made its way to Long Island from the southeastern United States. Oh, boy. So we have another tick to watch out for. And this, again, is more proof of climate change that we have Gulf Coast tick, which is, again, because it's warm, we have warm winters. It can transmit a form of spotted fever to humans, according to the CDC. We don't fully know what their consequence will be. So how to avoid ticks? Let's see what they suggest here. It says, check yourself every day. Ticks like skin folds is under the arms, behind the knees, inside the belly button, and around the waist. Children should be checked thoroughly as well. So, yeah, and I do it every time I go hiking. I check. And sometimes, rarely I'll find a tick, but sometimes I do. Because I spray. When going outdoors, pull socks up over pant legs and tuck in shirts. Wear light colored clothing can help spot ticks. Use insect repellent to make sure to follow instructions. So they're not really mentioning permethrin, and they should be mentioning that. And I'll talk about that after I'm done here. Shower as soon as possible after being outdoors. That's something I always do when I get home. Throw items of clothing in a hot dryer before washing them. Talk to your veterinarian about protecting dogs and cats with treatment. So what to do if you are bitten by a tick. Use tweezers to remove the tick by grabbing its head. You may want to save the tick in a small container or bag for identification purposes. Use rubbing alcohol or soap and water to disinfect the tick bite area and monitor your health. So, again, it's a serious issue that SouthShore12 should be talking about, but instead they're not. Oh, median home price rises 10% on Long Island. Yeah, just another play. It just keeps getting more and more expensive because, but that's, so let's talk about permethrin. All right, permethrin. So this is permethrin here. You can, but some of these are pretty big things here. You can get this one. Obviously, the price of this has gone up a lot. I remember we used to be able to get it for $12. Now you're going to pay double that. But this is what you do. You spray your clothes with it. All right. DEET does nothing. DEET, if it doesn't have permethrin in it, it's not going to work on ticks. You spray this on your clothing, not your skin. You treat your pants, your socks, your shoes with this, and make sure it's dry, and then you can go hiking. All right. And then it's effective. And it's actually effective for a week at least, not a week, several weeks, at least several weeks, if not more. But once you get to the month, you're going to want to retreat your clothes. And, it can be effective through a wash as well. So it's very effective. It works very well. And this is very important. You don't want to get bitten by a tick. One thing that article left out, obviously, is the alpha-gal meat allergy that you can get from a Lone Star tick as well. So it spreads that around too. So keep that in mind. And when you Google Pine Barrens News 12, you see nothing. They don't want to even mention the Pine Barrens. And again, this is their last update on it 2 days ago. Let's see. Anything from one day ago, one day. It looks like ABC has something on it, so we can actually play the ABC story maybe. And see what they only spent 52 seconds on it, though.
Gilgo Beach Task Force expanded the already extensive search through the woods in Suffolk County to areas linked to a man convicted of killing 2 women. The search has widened to the hamlet of North Sea, where 28-year-old Sandra Costillo's body was discovered back in November of 1993. John Bitroff has been long suspected in her death, but never charged. Back in 2017, a jury convicted him in the murders of 2 other women whose bodies were found in 1993 and 94 in East Patchogue and Shirley. The searches earlier this week happened near Bitroff's old home in Manorville. The Suffolk County District Attorney's Office will not comment on whether this search is tied to Bitroff or suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann.
So, yeah, they're not going to say that yet. So let's see. Did they finally update this, or they still don't have a video? They still don't have a video. This is despicable. Yeah, this is pretty despicable. So let's see. I think they had another story here with the people were rearrested, I think. So the people that were, hold on. Yeah. Let's see. They might have a story on this. Oh, they don't. They actually did have a story, but very brief one. So, again, these 2
suspects are due back in court
to
face additional charges in the case of body parts found scattered at several locations. Jeffrey Mackey and Alexis Nieves were rearrested in Suffolk County. They're among 4 people facing charges for leaving the remains of a Yonkers couple in parks and woods.
So let's go to the next story here because, yep. There was another crime in the city.
We begin
here,
tonight
folks.
with these.
Central Park is getting dangerous, folks. Yeah, like I said, we're going back to the 70s and the 80s. And more crime in the city. It's not just the subway. You can't even walk in the park.
String of muggings in Central Park. There have been at least 4 separate muggings since Thursday. One man decided he was not going to be a victim and stood up to the would-be mugger holding a gun to his head. He spoke with Eyewitness News reporter Lucy Yang, and she joins us from Central Park. Lucy.
Well, Joe, we spoke with that victim just late this afternoon, and he is a paraprofessional with New York City Public Schools. So he knows how to work with troubled students. All his experience and empathy kicked in when 2 robbers picked the wrong victim.
I took my chances, and I got very lucky. It could have gone completely sideways.
It was a beautiful day in Central Park last Friday. 25-year-old Ashikar Chowdhury enjoyed the sunset on the Great Lawn, then started walking home to Harlem. It was dark when someone tried to snatch his cell phone.
Once the sun goes down.
I had my phone tightly, stood my ground.
That was mugger number 1. Mugger number 2 then pulled out a gun. The first one took it and aimed it at the victim's face.
I just told him, you're not going to shoot that gun. You don't have the balls to shoot the gun.
What?
You don't have the balls to shoot me. I looked at him in his eyes. It was all panic and fear.
Thankfully, it did not end in tragedy. Somehow the power dynamic shifted as Ash, who teaches special needs, called their bluff.
I went with my gut. I looked him in the eyes and I saw more panic than aggression. And I looked at him and I was like, this is just a kid.
His teaching instincts kicked in and he tried to encourage them to get help. Eventually, a biker came upon the scene and called the police. The 2 young muggers fled, and Ash is left knowing this ended well, but he doesn't want others copying what he did.
A lot of people have been calling it brave, but I personally see it as reckless and irresponsible. I should have just given him my phone and not taken the risk.
So far, no arrest in this mugging or the others in Central Park recently. But as Ash told me, once his mother finds out the details, she just might kill him. We're live in Central Park tonight. I'm Lucy Yang for Channel 7 Eyewitness.
It's incredible. I mean, just this what's going on in the city is just, out of control with the crime, So, yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on here. We go to 10-10 wins, and, they have it all here. We have it all here. It's just it's unbelievable, all this stuff here. And let's see, chain snatch in this happened in broad daylight too, or this happened at night? Let's see, 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, Hell's Kitchen. There's always problems in Hell's Kitchen. You know, Central Park, just dealing with a lot. What's this? What's this? We didn't even hear about this. Maybe that's an old story. I don't know when the date was, but this is very serious. So again, they didn't cover this either. Man slices woman's neck open on Long Island, charged with attempted murder. A Queens man was charged with attempted murder after he allegedly slashed a woman's neck, causing a large gash on Long Island over the weekend. Charles McKenzie, 36, was charged with attempted murder and criminal possession of a weapon. This actually may be an old story. Yeah, that's an old story from December 17th. I don't even remember them covering it, though. I don't know why it popped up an old story in there. Let's look at Central Park here and get some news on Central Park, because obviously we've had a number of things going on here. So there were weekend robberies. 3 terrifying attacks from the New York Post. A third shocking attack unfolded in Central Park in just 27 hours. Recalling the darker days, I remember the Wildings, the infamous 1990 raid. Remember the jogger case? Well, we're going to get ready to have that again. The rate things are going. So, smash and grab theft. Snatch and grab when a tourist was sitting on a bench near East 47th Street and had a bag of pricey camera equipment grabbed by a thief who took off running. And then the 3 violent robberies, including an attack Friday night by a trio of armed muggers who appeared to be just 14 and 15-year-old, who accosted a man as he cut through the park. And that's the one we just read. And then other disturbing incidents: a man held gunpoint, robbed, and assaulted while taking pictures in the park. And a woman who was set upon by a pervert who grabbed her and demanded to have sex with her. Crime in the park has soared. Robberies are up 400%. Yeah, I don't think you'll want to go to Central Park anytime soon at this point. And let's see, these all happened. It looks like most of them did happen at night. It did not happen in the middle of the day. So if you have to go to Central Park, your best bet is to go in the middle of the days. But it says this article, we had a good 20 years under Rudy Giuliani and Mayor Bloomberg. Now it's getting worse and worse every day. Even the doorman don't feel safe. Stephen Bolton and his wife Carolyn live in Manhattan, but are considering moving to Florida. Yeah, people are moving out of the city. Since COVID, something snapped. There are a lot more incidents. It's just, it's not safe, man. It's not safe. So I'm not going to read this whole article here for you, but I'll put it in the link below. It's just, it's just another thing. Of course, the SouthShore12 wants to just bury their head in the sand and, not cover. They want to cover a bunch of stuff that nobody really cares about. It doesn't affect, Sure, if you're in your own little world, your own little bubble, oblivious to everything like they are at that station, then, And it's funny because if you look at News 12 New Jersey, yeah, they actually cover news. They actually have a number of stories here, and they're actually covering a big brick fire that happened at Brick. They actually cover stuff. Burglaries in Tom's River, they cover that too. But again, that's New Jersey, where again it's different there, So I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. So again, Newsday covered a lot of good stuff. Again, if you want to get news on Long Island, I suggest you go to the Newsday site. I go to the library to get it, but I may consider actually having to subscribe because News 12 is just useless right now. So anyway, that's all. Thank you for watching.